I guess for this latest album, 8 Arms to Hold You, you guys were produced by Bob Rock, who we sort of tend to associate with straight ahead rock and roll music. What exactly was behind the decision to have Bob do the album?
We kind of always saw ourselves as playing straight ahead rock and roll music. It was it made sense. It was like we heard records of his. We'd always heard, we'd known about records of his and heard what his sound was like, and always just thought he made great sounding records, and sort of wanted, we always envisioned ourselves sounding like that, but we didn't know how to sound like that,
Right. Like what kind of records, for example, did you?
Like the Metallica Black album and Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood. It's a really great sounding record, and it's just like I would have liked it if our first record had sounded more like this new record, but we didn't have the time or the money or the connection to be able to do it that way. So it's kind of the record we really always wanted to make.
Did you have any trouble securing the services of Bob Rock?
No, I think he was really he was eager to do it, wanted to work with us, and it was not a tough one.
So you guys actually brought up his name. It wasn't like suggested to you by the record company or anything?
Oh, no. In fact, I think the record company was probably really surprised when they heard that was our choice. We were backstage one night. We were on tour with 𝗃𝗏𝗄𝗃 and Live. We were playing big amphitheaters in the U.S. and we were backstage having dinner, and we heard Enter Sandman over the PA, like in this huge amphitheater, and we all just kind of looked at each other like, oh my God, what sounds better than this? And we just kind of all like dropped our forks. We were just like, oh, maybe we could do our record with Bob Rock, and we just got really excited and decided to pursue him, and so that's what happened.
Just out of curiosity, is a big name like Bob Rock sort of prohibitively expensive? Do you have to...
No. The way it kind of works generally, unless you're... I don't know. It seems like the way most producers work is if it's a big enough band, they will. It's like you don't really pay them up front. You pay them a little bit of money up front, but mostly what you're paying in is points on the record.
Oh.
So, which is like this whole controversy, which is what Steve Albini thinks is so, abhorrent about producers. I think it's perfectly fine. I feel like Bob had so much to do with our record. We worked together so closely for so long that he should have a big part of, if the record is really successful, he should definitely have a part of that. So I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, so that's kind of how it works. Once you get to a certain point, if a producer hears the songs and thinks, oh, this could be successful, then they'll kind of take the money later. They're sort of taking a gamble. Because, if we sell 2 copies of our record, he really won't have made any money. So, whatever.
I see. Okay, yeah. That makes it easy for you guys then. Now, the guys who wrote the questions here were wondering, when you talk about Bob Rock and the bands that he's worked with, you sort of bring to mind the ideal of macho rock performers, and swinging their big balls around. You guys weren't worried about sort of being categorized as wannabe macho male rockers, were you?
God, no. I haven't really thought of that. No.
One of these questions that come up after a night of pondering what to ask you guys, I guess.
Yeah. No, we haven't really, I don't think that we've been, no one's ever suggested that. I never even thought about, if it was a more macho thing. Yeah, there is obviously the stereotypical genre of cock rock, but we, I don't know, we have our own version of that. Like, are you American? Okay, do you know what the word frock means? Like a dress, a frock?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay, so we have this joke, like, everyone always says about guys, like, rock on with your cock on, and we say to ourselves, rock on with your frock on. Like, it's a girl thing, and we have our own version of, female force, power, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wouldn't really mind. Whatever. We wrote the songs, and we had a lot to do with the making of this record. So it's kind of our thing,
Yeah. Do you guys get across the idea of your gender in your music, or you just think of yourselves as non-gender specific rock and roll performers?
We just kind of write the songs that come to us. It's just like I'll sit down and start playing something, and whatever comes out, and sometimes it's a specifically female perspective, but for the most part it's, I don't know. There's no plan, there's no sort of agenda about the kind of things we want to say in our music. We just kind of say what we feel at any given moment. So it's not really part of our plan, but it kind of turns out, we're women writing music, so our perspective is obviously going to be a female one.
I think that because of the timing of 𝘂𝘂𝘵 and your last release, that people had likened you to the Breeders, to maybe this so-called new camp of alternative rockers. But in your case, that's never been something you've really been conscious of, right?
Mm-hmm. Wait, conscious of trying to be like them, or
trying to be unlike, say, more mainstream performers from, say, like the pre-Nirvana days. A lot of the bands that come out consider themselves to be sort of post-Nirvana bands.
Mm-hmm.
How in your case?
God, I don't know. I mean, we were writing music. I was writing songs long before I ever heard about Nirvana.
Mm-hmm.
We are the same age as all of the people in that band.
Mm-hmm.
And we're influenced by the same people that they were influenced by, like the Pixies, like 𝗙liche 𝗍𝗶𝘴𝗵,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of pop stuff that I really love, the Beach Boys, the Beatles. So it's not like, nothing really changed. I don't know. Louise and I got together certainly after, post-Nirvana. We became a band post-Nirvana, but I don't think our perspective is specifically, I don't think of any contemporaries as huge influences on me.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly stuff that I tend to draw from as things in the past, but of course you can't help but be influenced. Like you hear, when I first heard the album Nevermind, I thought, wow, this sounds huge, this sounds awesome, I want to make a record that sounds like that,
Mm-hmm.
But
how about, let's see, maybe we could approach the same question from the perspective of like comparing American Size with this latest album. The journalists say that in a previous interview you talked about American Size as being sort of an album of snapshots. I'm not quite sure exactly what you said, but they say that this album this time around is more. There are more solid, more easy to grasp concepts on this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's more. I guess it deals more with your thoughts and feelings.
It's a little more. It's a little less cryptic, I think, than American Size. American Size. I can only speak for myself. I don't know, about Louise and what she set out to do necessarily. I do know, but I don't want to speak for her. But in my case, on some level, I thought, well, I don't want to reveal too much. I don't want to expose too much. And the songs that I find the most interesting are not lyrically facile. Songs that you just immediately like. When I was little, I wrote songs like "I Love You," "Please Don't Leave Me," like sappy love songs. But when we wrote the songs for American Size, I just kind of felt like, well, I want to I don't want to give it all away, give everything away. So on this record, it's a little bit more straightforward. Lyrically, I think it's a little more obvious what the songs are about. In some cases, some of them you might not know, but I mean, there were a lot of pretty confessional songs on the last album. It just happened that 𝘂𝘐 was the big success on the album, and that song, nobody knew what that song was about. So I think people kind of think that American Size was a mystery or this like cryptic puzzle or something, but it really wasn't. It was a little more straightforward than people think.
So what made you feel more comfortable to be more direct this time around?
It really wasn't about, I don't think it was about comfort. I think it just kind of happened. Again, what we do is so uncalculated, so it's kind of hard sometimes when people ask you, why did you do this or what changed? Because you're not really aware. It's almost like I learn more about what we're doing from what other people write about us, Because I don't sit here and I don't sit here and analyze it the way a critic might. I just kind of I write a song, and if it means something to me, if it either moves me or makes me feel like I want to get in my car and drive and sing along to it or something, then I know that it's a song that I like, and that's kind of as far as it goes in a way.
How about in terms of the development of your craft? Have you written songs for this most recent album that seemed to you as something you wouldn't have been capable of doing, say, 2 years ago?
Definitely, I do. I feel like there are some. Structurally, the songs are more sound. At least, again, I'm speaking for myself. I feel like my songs may have been more linear before, whereas now they're sort of more, I don't know, it's not exactly the opposite of linear, because they're just more compact, or they're more structured. They make the song structure is a little tighter. There's not a lot of excess or a lot of sort of, I don't know. Yeah, I do feel like I have developed. I don't know about lyrically, but musically, definitely.
Do you think you continue to have the same influences, or now that you are becoming you yourself are becoming more adept at songwriting, have you embraced new influences? Do other artists impress you more now?
I haven't really discovered anybody so amazing in the past 3 years, or however long it's been since I wrote the songs for the first record. My heroes are still my heroes, the same people, and nobody new has really, surfaced that has, completely knocked me out. I would still say the people that make me want to write songs the most. I won't say that they've influenced me, because that's kind of presumptuous to suggest that I have been influenced by, somebody as great as George Harrison. That sort of implies that I understand something he understands. I don't know that I do. But, people like George Harrison and Amy Mann and Scott Miller. I don't know if you know who Scott Miller is, but
he's a Loud family, right?
Yeah, and was in a band called Game Theory.
Game Theory, right.
Game Theory. He's a really great songwriter. So people like Scott Miller, Amy Mann, George Harrison, Brian Wilson, those are the people that make me want to write songs the most, want to kind of, those are the people I wish I understood more, or I wish I could do what they do, or, How
about in terms of what the subject matter that motivates you to write? Is that the same as before?
Subject matter never really motivates me to write. I don't know what motivates me to write. There's like this tense feeling sometimes that motivates me to write. It's like this feeling of confusion or disappointment or frustration, and that will move me to sit down and play some chords on the guitar, and then as I'm playing those chords, I'll start to sing, and then words will just kind of come out. I never really sit down with an idea for a song. It's I do sometimes, but it's very rare. In fact, I think 𝘂𝘳 was the only time I ever thought, oh, 𝘂𝘳, that's a cool concept or idea, I want to write a song about that. That was like the only time.
Mm-hmm. And it says here on the list of songs, it has like the credits, and the credits say Post Gordon, Post Gordon, Gordon, Post Gordon. You guys never collaborate on songs together?
Well, we do end up collaborating, but the basic, the song, the melody, and the lyrics are written separately. So I'll bring in a song, I'll sing it, play it for Louise, and then she'll say, wait, what if you were to say this right there? Or what if you were to sing this? And so it'll change, but the basic concept, idea, and melody is generally either mine or Louise's. Mm-hmm. But we do collaborate, pretty intensely, and with the rest of the band. We all kind of sit together and try to work out a song together. But again, the lyrics and the melody are generally pretty much intact when we bring the song in. So.
Are you guys pretty prolific? Does this pretty much represent all the material you have compiled for this?
No, we demoed about 30 songs, and we had to pick, what we thought the best 14 of those songs were. Some of the songs that we excluded from the album will be released as B-sides. Some of them will be released actually in Japan on the LP, because I guess American bands sometimes add a couple songs extra. But we only recorded and finished 14 songs with Bob, and then we came back to Chicago and worked on some other songs for B-sides and bonus tracks and stuff.
Would be a good example of like the songs you discarded, and for what reasons?
Then no specific reasons. It was just kind of an overall feeling. We picked the songs that we were the most excited about, that there was a general consensus about. And, a song that didn't make it would be a song that one of us was really excited about and the others were kind of lukewarm about, or, it had to be a song that everyone was really excited to play and had a lot to give to. It had to, I said that really badly. It has to be a song that everyone felt they could contribute to.
For example, the Japanese pressing will have Good Disaster, one more page of Insincerity, please, on it. Why were these, for example, discarded from the...
well, they're very different. Like, Good Disaster is a really pretty song. It has a very lighthearted, pretty kind of natured, pretty kind of vibe to it, and it's like, it just didn't seem to fit with the rest of the record. It really didn't. And One More Page of Insincerity fits with the rest of the record, but it wasn't a crucial, it's a song that means a lot to me, but it's not a song that I felt was crucial to the album, whereas every other song seemed to be crucial to the album. I can't imagine an album without those 14 songs, so there's no real reason. If we could have made a double album, we would have, or if we could have made two separate albums, we definitely would have. I mean, it's a problem if you have two songwriters in a band, and you spend 2 years between records. I mean, of course you're going to have a lot of material, and it's frustrating. I mean, I wish it could be like it was with the Beatles, where they recorded every 6 months, That would be an ideal situation for us, but that can't happen really in this day and age. I guess if you stop touring, if a band is big enough so that they don't have to tour, they could theoretically make an album every 6 months, but we can't do that.
Do you find yourself writing more now?
No, I haven't written a single song since the album was done. I tend to take a break. I mean, the last time with the record, and also when we put out this EP, I kind of closed myself off to music in a way, because I spent so many months being so hypercritical of every little sound that I kind of have to clean my ears out and not really think. Louise has been writing songs, I think. I've kind of, I don't know. The last thing I want to do right now is pick up a guitar.
So what is on the agenda then? I mean, what are you guys doing press right now?
We're doing press. We're about to make a video. Tomorrow we start the video for Volcano Girls, and then after the New Year we'll be in Europe and probably in Japan doing press, and Yeah, mostly promotional stuff, touring around, talking to people at radio stations and stuff. And then we'll come back and we'll start playing shows when the record comes out, which is in February.
Mm-hmm. What does the title refer to? 8 Arms to Hold You.
It was the original title for the Beatles movie Help.
Uh-huh.
And they decided not to use it. I'm not sure why, but they discarded it, and so we thought it was a pretty title. We wanted to use it. No, it just kind of popped into our heads like, wow, I don't know, it just makes sense. It really suits the album to us. It makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, has Jim Shapiro left the band?
Yes! He's my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he is going to pursue his own band, which he has needed to do for a while. He's been kind of wasting his talents as a drummer in our band because he's a really brilliant songwriter and singer and guitar player. And he made the album with us, so it's his drumming on the album, and he's gotten a lot better at drums since he started with us. Mm-hmm. But he really needs to go do his own thing, and so hopefully he'll get a record out and maybe come on tour with us, because we're kind of sad to see him go, but we totally support what he's doing. So this guy named Stacey Jones is going to be our drummer now. He was in Letters to Cleo, and has played on a bunch of other records and stuff. So he's a nice guy, and he's going to take over.
But Jim actually did the drumming on the album, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, there are a few questions here about the actual songs on the record. It seems like this might overlap a little bit with what we were talking about before, but and excuse me if these observations don't seem exactly spot on. But for example, songs like Straight and Awesome seem to indicate a new lyrical direction for you, in that they're very direct, as you talked about before. You said you didn't want to give away too much. Like Straight, I think talks about you, talks about a person like stealing away another person's lover or something like that.
Straight's about Louise wrote Straight, and it's about being involved with a stoner.
You're involved with a stoner?
Being involved with a guy who smokes too much pot. And Awesome is about being awesome.
Is that your song?
Yeah.
What do you mean by being awesome?
Well, so much of what we did the first time around with our first record was we kind of brushed off what was happening to us. We were almost ashamed of the focus that was, of the attention that was being given to us, and we definitely in our hometown of Chicago, there was a certain kind of resentment that we felt from other people, and we felt like we had to play it all down, and we started feeling kind of bad about ourselves, just like, I don't know. It was like being ashamed of too much attention, and I kind of reached my limit with that perspective, and I just kind of said, "Fuck this. We've gotta just, love this, and we've got to know how awesome we are, and that this band is great, and we're great, and we don't have to apologize." It was basically like, Louise and I just came to this point where we were like, wait, we have to stop apologizing. Because it was like we were apologizing for being noticed, which is, as far as I'm concerned, it has to, it does, I think, have a lot to do with being women. I think there's a kind of societal shame placed on women who get too much attention or have too much power or are noticed, and we're not supposed to flaunt that, or we're not supposed to love that. And so Awesome was kind of just like a declaration of unapology. No, a declaration of, what would you say? Of what?
Defiance?
I guess so, yeah. Arrogance.
Arrogance. Well, so you're saying that Chicagoans resent fellow Chicagoans achieving fame outside of the circle?
Not so much anymore, but yeah, I mean, there was a time when so many bands in Chicago were getting noticed, and there was this feeling like, oh, if you're one of the bands that's getting all this hype, you must suck, you must be a terrible band, and you know, you must be getting the attention from for some other reason, i.e., because you're women, because you're that.
Okay. So maybe that was just information being filtered over here through certain sources.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But not your treatment in the American press has not been negative.
I don't think so. I mean, certainly not. No, I don't think so.
Just people.
Not personally. I mean, you know, there've been good reviews and bad reviews and whatever, but we haven't been really in the public eye for about a year and a half, 2 years. We've just been, you know, quietly going about our business. So there hasn't been that much attention on us for a while.
There was mention of Liz Fair here about how she sort of injects an element of female sexuality into what she does. The guys that wrote the questions here thought that you were trying to make sort of a conscious effort at injecting kind of in a similar way, more the idea of emotion into the songs. Is emotion a key factor here as one of your themes?
I mean, it kind of turns out that way, I guess, but again, it's not a calculated thing, and different things, you know, there are songs that are, you know, more sort of emotionally charged, more personal or intimate, and then there are songs that are more general. I mean, there's a song on this record about David Bowie, about just idolizing him when I was a teenager and being in love with him, and that's not, you know, that's not particularly emotional. It's just like a teenage rock idol crush, and a teenage crush on a rock idol, I should say. And so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. Volcano Girls. Is there reference to Seether in there?
Yeah.
What exactly is behind that? It says here like Seether was supposed to be something about controlling violent impulses. It says, and how you sort of hint in Volcano Girls that was you were talking about Louise.
Oh, yeah.
Was that a joke or something? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted, you know, the Beatles thing of I Am the Walrus. I mean, not I Am the Walrus, sorry. It's in Glass Onion, and it says, I told you about Strawberry Fields, you know, the place where nothing is real. Here's another clue for you all, the walrus is tall. That's kind of what this is. I had always wanted to make that same kind of self-referential excuse me, I'm speaking so badly. I had always wanted to make that kind of self-reference within a song, and so I kind of just did that. That was calculated.
So you're just having some fun with your listeners.
Yeah, kind of.
Playing the same game of
a little riddle, you know. Well, partly because we got asked so many times. I mean, the one question every single interviewer for a year, I got asked, you know, I don't know, maybe 1,000 times, what's a Seether, what's a Seether, what's a Seether? And so it was kind of a little play, a little joke on that.
Here's one of these questions. It's kind of hard to ask because, it's, you know, like a couple of the other ones, it's just so vague, but there's a question here about how you think you have grown personally in these over the last 2 years. I mean, have the changes in your personality been great, do you think, or are you pretty much the same as before?
Definitely different from when I first started writing songs before we recorded our first album, because, you know, those first songs I was writing within the context of a life without a career. You know, I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know, I didn't know if anybody would ever hear these songs. And then suddenly I have this music career, a record deal, and, a little bit of security, and that does change things. I mean, it does. It doesn't change my love for music or my connection to music, but it changes a little bit of the mystery of it, or a little bit. It changes things because, I knew when I was writing these songs that, I'm going to probably record these songs. People will probably hear them. And that is a different perspective. I don't know what it is or how it's changed me, but it's different.
Yeah, how about personal changes in yourself? Have you mellowed out? Are you less aggressive, or are you more aggressive, or does that kind of thing change?
God, I don't know. I mean, it's been, I think I've probably grown more over the last year off the road, making the record, writing songs, than I did in the 2 years that we were touring around the record. It's really hard to grow as a person when you're on the road, and when you're doing interviews. It's like there's something really unnatural and probably unhealthy about talking about yourself in interviews in a sort of self-important way, as though what I'm saying really means anything, or, and I mean, it does mean something to the people who like our music. I know that as a teenager, and even now, when I really like somebody's music, I want to know everything about them.
Right.
And so I acknowledge that. But there is something sort of unhealthy and sort of infantile about the whole life, the touring life, being on the road and lack of responsibility, and you have people taking care of you, and, whereas since I've been home for the past year and making the record, and it's been sort of a time of self-reflection and growth. That can't happen when you're working on when you're touring and doing interviews and stuff.
In day-to-day life, do you immerse yourself in music, or do you like when you're not performing, when you're not writing, do you like to forget about the fact that you're in a band and you are a professional musician?
Well, as I said before, when we first finish a record, I generally don't listen to any music for a while. I can't. It's like my ears just can't take it, or I just hear it in a technical way. I can't hear it in an emotional, personal way. Like I hear it in terms of production or in terms of playing, and I think, oh, well, that's interesting. He used a slide guitar right there, even though, whatever it is. So I kind of stopped listening to music, but no, I mean, I'm always listening to music, but I don't know.
How about when dealing with people? I mean, you want to just forget the fact that you're in music. You just want to be regarded as just a regular person, an ordinary person. I pretty much am just regarded as a regular person. I mean, we're not that high profile in the States that people don't treat me like the person that I always was, or like a normal person. We haven't really gotten to that point yet where people start behaving weirdly around us. So that's good, because I don't think I like that. The whole concept of Veruca Salt, that is using I guess Veruca Salt was a character in the book. In Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's right, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I guess this question has to do with your original motivation for using that, when I'm not quite sure what that is, but they were asking, has that changed? No, in fact, it's gotten closer and closer to the truth, I think. It's more accurate now than it ever was. And it, in a way, kind of suits this record even more than it did the first record. How so? Well, if Veruca Salt's mantra in the book was, I want it now, I want the world, and I want it now, this record, I think, is more likely to attain that than the first record. I see. This is where Veruca Salt gets vindication. Kind of, yeah. Or gets thrown down the bad egg chute. I don't know.
Steve?
Yeah, hello?
Hey, it's Peter.
Hi, Peter.
I'm just checking up on you guys, seeing how everything's going.
quite
fine.
well, I think.
Okay, great. There's like about five more minutes, so go along as you want.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay, thanks. The 5-minute warning.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's see here. I'm just trying to pick up the questions here for the last 5 minutes. The Steve Albini produced mini album, Blow Out Your Ass, it's Veruca Salt. What role did that play in the process leading up to 8 Arms to Hold You?
Well, we made that EP because we knew it was going to be a long time before we got a chance to record again. We had just come home from our tour with 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗏, and we hadn't recorded anything, for a year and a half at that point, and we knew that Bob Rock wasn't going to be available until the summer. This was all happening a year ago. And we just thought, we've got to do something. We've got to record something just for our sanity, because we had grown at that point as a band so much from playing all those live shows, and we knew we had to get some of it down on tape. So we had wanted to work with Albini.
Excuse me.
Bless you. He'd made a lot of really great sounding records, and he's in Chicago, and he wanted to work with us, and so we went in for about 5 days and 4 days or something like that, and did those 4 songs, and it was great. It was just a really straightforward experience of just going in, playing the songs, and leaving, and it was really important for us, because the only thing that we had recorded up until that point was American Size, and we were a completely different band by that point, so we needed to do that.
It was Albini is also from Chicago, right? And had you considered him for the LP that was to follow that?
For the record we just made?
Yeah, yeah.
I guess so. I'm sure we thought about it. We really enjoyed working with him, but we wanted to, Steve doesn't really like to hash and rehash songs and he does like to experiment, I shouldn't say that, but he does like to work fairly quickly. He doesn't like to spend a lot of time obsessing over tiny little details, and we wanted to spend time obsessing over tiny little details. It's what we do best. So it was good for 4 songs, but for a whole album, we really wanted with this record to kind of go to town and really, explore all the possibilities for this record. So Bob Rock was the right choice because he's really into working really hard and spending time and doing it right, Yeah,
and was there also a conscious effort at getting out beyond Chicago? Because you mentioned Steve Albini's also from Chicago.
Oh, no, that wasn't, if Bob Rock had lived in Chicago, we would have worked with him, No, it wasn't a Chicago thing.
Okay, let's move on to a couple of more off-the-wall questions here. Do you think, this is a question about Courtney Love. I don't know why her name comes up here, but
I don't either.
It says that I think that she's being compared to you guys, and that whereas you seem to be unpretentious and just sort of doing what you do best, she has more of an attitude that she's trying to be some sort of a grunge idol. She assumes a persona, if you will, whereas you guys don't seem to assume a persona, and that by pursuing a persona, she sort of takes women in rock back a step or two.
I don't think that's true. I think I don't think she does. She's somebody who, if you like her music or not, she has a lot of power, and a lot of young girls idolize her for better for worse. But I don't think she's set feminism back or women in rock back in any way, and I don't think anybody has or could. I don't think any. The fact is, women in powerful positions are good for women. That's good. So I think, but as far as creating a persona, and this isn't specific to Courtney Love, but there seems to be a trend in music, right now at least, when I turn on MTV or turn on the radio, I hear so much music that seems really forced.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's more about performance. I don't even mean performance, it's more about kind of theatrics and histrionics, and just kind of trying to be really scary or trying to be really angry or trying. It just seems like people are trying really hard to be controversial or to be creepy, or like to do something that's weird, and it doesn't seem genuine to me, and that really bothers me. It seems like it's like, when David Bowie was doing his thing, like, he was as weird as anybody could be, but it was his thing and it was genuine, and it didn't seem like he was just trying really hard to come up with whatever the freakiest thing he could do was. I mean, it was all organic. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It was all organic with his music, and right now it just seems like people will, I don't know, they'll just try anything and try to feign intensity, And that really does bother me, and that's something we'll never do, I can't really create a persona for myself. As I said before, nothing that I do is really that calculated, and I would have had to have started a long time ago, And I can't, there's no time for that. I've got to start doing interviews right now. I haven't had time to think up a character that I want to be. So I don't know.
Hypothetical situation, and this is probably about only time for this one last question here, but it says, like, let's say, for example, you found out your lover was playing around on you.
Yeah.
And would you be like Alanis Morissette and vent your anger very openly, or do you think you would try to assume more of a low-profile position and sort of wangle your way back into his life?
Oh. I don't think, I certainly wouldn't consider Alanis Morissette any kind of a role model for how I would behave. I don't mean that as any personal attack against her. I'm just saying, like, she didn't invent, women's anger or revenge or fury. That wasn't her original idea. Yeah, I probably would be really angry, and I probably would cause a scene. I mean, it would depend. It's a personal thing, It's like, it would depend who the person was and, how I was feeling. I definitely wouldn't try to weasel my way back into somebody's life that didn't want to be with me. And that fucked me over, that's not, whatever. So I'd probably be angry, but having nothing to do with Ms. Morissette. I didn't find that song particularly inspiring, like, oh, you mean I don't have to wallow and cry? You mean I can spit in his face? And, many women have been writing songs out of revenge. There have been a lot of songs about women's revenge. And that just, I guess, is the most famous one, but whatever.
Well, I think maybe that came up because of that, because, she does seem to have struck a responsive chord, and there aren't that many female role models of that kind, in spite of all the lip service that feminism does get.
Right,
Maybe that's why her name came up. And maybe some of your female listeners here in Japan would sort of turn to you guys for inspiration. So that's why a question like this comes up.
I know, I understand. But I don't generally let anybody treat me badly. I don't have time for that. You get to a certain age and you realize that you don't have to put up with people treating you badly, and I don't even mean, like, really badly. I'm not even talking about any kind of physical abuse. That's obviously out of the question. But people who don't, worship and cherish the women that they're with are not worth your spit.
But it seems to be an eternal problem with women that they sort of get walked over and do put up with it.
Some do, when they're not educated, I think. I think they, people need to be educated that, this isn't the Dark Ages, and ever.
Okay. All right, Nina. Well, I guess I'll leave it at that, and I thank you very much for your time, and hope to see you guys when you get out here.
Yeah, we're gonna. I think we're gonna go over there in a couple months.
Good. Well, once again, this was for Rocking On Magazine, and my name is Steve Harris. And,
okay.
And wish you the best of luck.
Thanks so much, Steve.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right.